Now, whenever we are doing polity, the subject polity, when it started off with a very basic understanding of nation state, which is a Greece concept, because students who are from political science might be knowing it. Otherwise, I'm here to tell you that this entire concept of polity and the countries to be studied, it started from the ancient Greece, right? Now, what was an ancient practice? Initially, there were city states. By city states, I mean, जैसे like today you have the countries as an entity, that India is your identity, right? Leave aside all the secessionist tendencies and all the values that we are more emotional to. For example, nobody is concerned whether you belong to Haryana or to Tamil Nadu or to West Bengal. What is your identity as on an international stage is that you are an Indian, right? So in the ancient times, there was no concept of country. There were city states. So city states mean the city was an independent identity. For example, if I talk about Greece, so Athens was an identity, that we are Athenians, right? Similarly, Sparta is a city. So Sparta was a state, and Spartans, we are Spartans, we are Athenians. So there was no identity of being Greek. ऐसा कोई कॉन्सेप्ट नहीं था कि हम ग्रीस को बिलोंग करते हैं, राइट? But slowly and steadily, what happened? We developed the concept of nation state. और हमको क्या समझ आया? For any entity, for any land of peace to be called as a nation state, which was a modern concept. Ancient में क्या चलता था? What was the ancient practice? The ancient practice was of these city states. Then in the medieval times, if you have done world history, you must be knowing, in the medieval times, you had the confederations, you had the Roman Empire. So there was a huge empire that was consolidated, and small empires were all there under it. But when modern times, modern age came, after Renaissance, after the Industrial Revolution, and capitalism came into picture, so capitalism की जरूरत बन गई that you needed territories, because capitalism was based on what? Trade across the countries, and trade will happen when? How will you benefit from the trade? How would it be lucrative? When you will have some defined territories. So the concept of nation state emerged, and for a nation state to be understood, there are 4 important characteristics. 4. You can see many clouds here. Try and understand the basic one first. There are 4 important characteristics of any nation state. The first is territory. So there has to be a well-defined boundary of any country to be called as nation state. Okay. Now, when you have a territory, अब उस territory में कौन रह रहा होगा? कुछ लोग रह रहे होंगे. अगर मैंने एक territory को पहले define कर दिया, उसके बाद वहां पे कुछ लोग रह रहे होंगे. So the second important characteristic is population, right? There has to be a population. Third important characteristic is उस population को govern करने के लिए there has to be a central authority. ठीक. अब जहां पर लोग और पॉपुलेशन आ गए, वहां पे प्रॉब्लम्स होंगी ना, अगर उनके ऊपर कोई अथॉरिटी नहीं है. इन दैट केस एवरीबडी विल बी द किंग ऑफ हिज ओन विश, और सब सोचेंगे कि रूल हमारे हिसाब से होना चाहिए. सो इन ऑर्डर to remove that chaos and to avoid any chaotic situation, you will need a centralizing authority who can control that people who are living in that territory, right? And the fourth important characteristic is sovereignty, means the government, the authority that is controlling and taking decisions for the people who are living in that territory, they should be sovereign. It should be sovereign enough to take its own decision. कि वो decision ले सकते हैं, right? So to recapitulate, what do we see for any country to be called as nation state, you need to have a territory, you need to have a population who is living in that territory, then a centralizing authority, and finally the sovereignty. If all these four characteristics are being seen in any country, then you say what, that country is a nation state, right? The feeling of, and the people who are living in that territory, they should have a feeling of belongingness, right? Now it is a psychological concept, like people feel belong to oneself on what grounds? The grounds can be different. For example, if I talk about the Western world, Europe, अगर मैं वेस्ट की बात करूं, so there the territories are being defined on linguistic terms, right? Have we not seen how all the people who were speaking German, so उनका बना दिया Germany. People who used to speak French, उनका बन गया France. So अगर मैं वेस्ट की बात करूं, तो वेस्ट में you will not find much differences, or you will not find the, I'm not saying that secessionist tendencies are not there, problems हर जगह ही होती हैं, but the kind of case that you see in India is not visible there, because the segregation was done on what basis? Linguistic basis. So language was the reason for their segregation into the territories, right? Now India, so अगर मैं इन चारों के grounds पे देखूं, so what do we call the states in the modern times all across the globe? तो सब क्या है? Nation states हैं. All of them are what? Nation states, right? They all have a territory. यहाँ से लेके यहाँ तक इंडिया है, यहाँ से यहाँ तक पाकिस्तान है, ईरान है, यूरोप है. So you have a territory, you have your population, citizenship है, सबकी government है, they are all sovereign, right? So you see the, now जब आप कहीं भी रहते हो, of course there are the other factors also, they play a major role, like the religion, like the history, like the culture, ठीक? All of that is there. So can I assume, is the understanding of nation state clear? Can you understand? You can tell anybody what is nation state.